But what we are saying is that there is an African origin of humanity. There is an African evolution of this humanity on this planet. And there's an African sustained and fundamental cradle of civilization. And it is this process that has laid the foundations for civilization and high culture for the world. That's what we're saying. And if you wish more, I'm available. Every major media ran away, including Ebony Magazine Jet. Every major media, except one obscure Jewish press in Hackensack, New Jersey, called the Jewish Standard. They're the only people who said, do you have data, information, documentation to base your theses and hypotheses on? And I said, do you think I would be the master teacher and scholar that I am if I did not have these things? So they wanted to investigate and check out these things. So I went to the Jewish Standard, Main Street in Hackensack. I rolled up with my rollers and boxes and bags of books and documents. I stayed there and laid down the case for Africanness for 3 hours. After the third hour, they got cognitive dissonance. They couldn't handle it anymore. But I was on a roll with the African Holy Ghost, and I could not stop. So I continued for another hour, even though I know I had lost them.
3 hours ago.
And to their credit, this Jewish Standard wrote a 2-page article on what I had said. To this day, I have not read the article. I acknowledge and credit them with the courage and the justice of asking to become called in and writing an article. I don't care what it says. New York Times has never called me and asked seriously what I am saying. U.S. News and World Report, Atlantic Magazine, Reader's Digest just called a couple of weeks ago and said they're going to republish the article that was in Atlantic Magazine about political correctness. And I said, be careful, because you may have to see my lawyer. They said, that's why we're calling, because we're not going to publish anything that you have said you have not said. And then I ran down and said, a lot of that stuff, and most of it is BS. And so we'll see what the Reader's Digest does. But very few people have come to me and asked what we are doing. Not one scholar has challenged us. It's only been these crazy, insane newspaper people, as Dr. Asante and Professor Scobe was mentioning, and our beautiful sister, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, outlined earlier today. The scholars are in hiding because they know we stand on an African truth backed up by the most devastating scientific and historical data. Science and history is on our side. As quiet as it's kept, outstanding Jewish scholars have had the courage to send me their books and documents supporting our position. Jewish scholars have called me supporting the position on rich Jews being involved in the enslavement of Africans. Most Jews were poor Slavs in their shtetls in Europe, without a pot to pee in like most other Europeans. We're not talking about most Jews. We're talking about those who became the grandees of Spain, those who moved into Amsterdam and with an alliance with the Protestants of Amsterdam, erected the slave system that was an international endeavor involved in by all Europeans, the Danes, the Dutch, the Brandenburg Germans, the Swedes, established by the Catholic Church and sustained by the Protestant Reformation. And we've got to understand that. One Professor Berger called me up. He said he's a retired professor from SUNY. He's not related to that Berger attacking me. He was calling me, giving me information on the Jews' involvement in the slave trade, rich Jews' involvement in the slave trade, helping to set up the Dutch East Indian Company, the Dutch West Indian Company, the Portuguese Company, and all the other Brazilian Company. And then he said he wanted to give me some little side information on the blackness of the Statue of Liberty. This is a Professor Berger. Sister, you cannot try the ancestors. You done come back from the dead many times, and let's not try the ancestors. Sister Shasti's having trouble negotiating that seat there. At any rate, what I am saying to say is that Dr. J is alive and well. Instead of him being destroyed, I'm thanking the New York Times for making me a folk hero among my people. I want to thank them for giving me an international platform. I could not have purchased no amount of money. I could have hooked up Oprah Winfrey and the Cosby and even asked Michael Jackson and Toyota to give me a bit of their money. And I couldn't have bought this international platform that they have given us to speak our particular truth. And we're going to speak it. The data and the information is there. And it's in every form that you want. It is in the oral tradition. Dr. Milano Krango was beaten up a little bit on the oral tradition today, but it is in the oral tradition. That's part of our cultural legacy of passing down the word by word of mouth. It's in the raps. The rappers are now raising issues that you couldn't get anybody to raise. Smokey never raised the issue that the rappers are raising. You couldn't get Diana Ross to shake her butt around an issue of significant Africanness. But the rappers are raising it. We've got to get the rappers to go deeper into an understanding. But they're raising the issues and spreading it in the culture. And one rapper might produce a tape and be surprised as it might be, 500,000 of our people will have it in a couple of weeks. So let's not poo-poo the rappers and their oral tradition. In fact, in New York, we're working with them in our workshops and whatnot to make their content real. But it's in the tapes. These brothers are not here with these burning lights and dragging this material around because this is what they want to do, because there's some money to be made here, that there's profiteering. They are in the process of taking high-tech European-ness and using it to transmit the knowledge across this land. And it's working. I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, and a brother and sister came to me in the Hotel Hilton, and they was all excited, come up to me like they had known me all their life. I didn't know who they was. They grabbed me, hugged me, kissed me. And then they realized that I don't know who they are, so they stopped. And they said, Dr. J, we just want to thank you. I said, well, thank you, welcome. What is it? The brother was saying that he had my tape. I said, well, thousands of people have it, but which particular tape are you talking about? And it was a tape that he got from Amherst College. That one of the brothers there, and I've spoken at Amherst for 3 or 4 years in a row, so I didn't know which one of those tapes, but whatever tape that Leander Gray and the young students there who asked me to come up to Amherst, whatever tape they passed on to him, the man is using it, transforming his youngsters. He said he took the tape, he synthesized the information, made it palatable for the students he was dealing with, went into the classroom of a black school and came away with 25 letters from these students. He says it works. There's an excitement about our truth that stimulates the intellect and makes people achieve that we're not achievers in the mind's eye of a whole lot of people. And so I told the brother, do what you will with the tape, but write me a letter that this is what happened. Send me some copies of those letters so we can use this for our people, because many of them are questioning whether this is going to work. The Board of Education here in Atlanta, there's too many question marks there. Negro achievers on the board who want to know whether this is going to work or not. Same thing in Washington, D.C., in Newark, New Jersey, other places. We've got to convince our own people. The system has decayed and rotted, and young, bright youngsters, 5 or 6, come into a classroom, and by 8 or 9, their minds are brain damaged because of the process. And we have people questioning. We need any port in any storm. But you cannot lose with the stuff that Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and the rest of us have.